Hello everyone, it's Monday again, and today I thought I would make a couple of cards for Father's Day. That's coming up, and what I'm doing is I'm starting out with some ivory cardstock for the cards. I found a couple of matting options from some old DCW stacks. This one is from the Old World stack. And if you can still find this, there's a lot of really nice matte paper in there. And the other one, the houndstooth one, came from this one from DCW called Naturals. And there's a lot of good paper in there too. So these are older, but if you have them in your stash or you can find them, then you could do that. And also, check through your own stash for some of the older papers so that you can use them to back mats and things. Not a lot of it shows, but it's nice to have that peeking out from under. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and mount my mats onto my cards. And I've cut them down before I turned on the camera so that they will fit. Oops, ran off a little bit. Whoops, I want to make sure that I do that right. Okay. And then I've also cut smaller mats to go on top of here because, if you stamp on to a pattern background, you're probably not going to see it. So, I've got a smaller mat. But I do want to do a little bit of experimenting with this one. I pulled out this architecture stamp from, let me find it, from Classics No. 2 by Tim Holtz. And I'm going to stamp this on this patterned mat. And I'm going to use a pumice stone to do it. I want it to be background music. So I'm using pumice stone. Let me put this on here. And I'm going to ink up the stamp. And do it quite a bit because this is a large stamp. It's sometimes hard to get a complete image. So after I ink it, I'm going to pull it off of my block so that I can manipulate it easier and get some better pressure. Now I'm going to put that right there. And let's hope that this turns out so that we can see it. Usually I make a sample up before I get on camera, but I'm not doing that today. We're just doing experimentation. Okay, it does show up. Very good. Very good. Okay. And I want to go ahead and ink it some more. I'm going to just ink this edge because that's the only part that's going to show. So I'm going to put it right down there next to it. And press there, and then let's come down here. So what we're doing is we're making our own pattern paper from stamped and from other pattern paper. I got a little bit of it on the card down there, but you kind of do want to be careful not to do that so much. And this top corner again, ink. Alright, so now now I have a background. Be careful not to do what I just did. Okay. So I'm going to put that stamp aside. And put that back on its plastic card there. Then I'm going to take this one, this gentleman from Time Travelers. And I'm going to use brushed corduroy to ink him, and I'm going to put him on this card. So let's ink him up. Okay, and for larger stamps, what I like to do is do a reverse stamp, because I can get better pressure. If you have arthritic hands, weak hands, this is a much better way to go about it and get a clean image. And there's my image. Okay, now what I would like to do is to fussy cut around this, kind of making this up as I go along, and I think I would just like to do that. So I'm going to go around him. I'm going to leave a border around him, just a small border, and when you do that, then you don't have to be so precise with your corners. It's kind of a nice cheat when you don't want to spend all day cutting little tiny angles. And the reason I decided on fussy cutting around him is because I decided I wanted more of my background to show after we went to the trouble of making it. So this just takes a minute. It doesn't take a real long time. The fancier the stamp you get, the more time it takes to fussy cut. So you kind of want to do this when your stamps are fairly simple. You want to move the the paper and the image around in your hands to follow the angle of your cut, and you'll get a much better cut that way. So there we go. So I'm going to come back to our card, and let's place him on there. Somehow I just discovered I dropped jelly on my arm, so I'd get that off. Okay, so I'm going to use, you can use pop-ups, or you can use foam tape, and I happen to have foam tape in front of me, so that's what I'm going to use. And I'm going to stand him up on the surface just a little bit. So let's put one right there to support his head and neck, and one across the bottom, and just a little guy right here in the middle. Now, a lot of times when I sit down to do my cards, I may only have a theme in mind, or I may have a whole thing in mind, or I may have a list of ingredients in mind, but often I don't really know what I'm going to do with this card until I sit down and start doing it. And that's what's happening today. So here's our background, and here's our guy, and we need a sentiment, don't we? So I have pulled off, now I've lost it, here we go. I pulled off this little bracket guy from Small Things to Say, or Simple Sayings. I think that's what it is, Simple Sayings. And I'm going to go ahead and stamp it in our same color of brushed corduroy. And I can use the stamp block for this one. Oops, too too much pressure, because I kind of have an area here in the middle where it's stained with some ink. So I'm going to grab a Q-tip and some water and clean that up a little bit. It won't all clean off because I've used archival ink on it, but I can get enough off that it shouldn't bother our image. So let's try that one again. And I'm not going to press so hard on my ink pad so that I don't get ink down in that recessed area. So okay, now let's try this again. Much better. Okay, and I am using this set from, it's Happy Everything from Lawn Fawn, and it's got the words happy and fathers on it, and the word day, so we can make our sentiment. There's a heart and there's also an exclamation point, but I think I'm going to use the exclamation point. You could use whatever you like. Okay. So, I'm going to grab up my block again. This block is really a little bit too large for that, but it's what I have in front of me. So, I'm going to build my sentence. Put it here on my block. I'm going to butt the stamps right up next to each other. Okay, and when I turn it back over, then I have my sentence. But you want to check to see if it's even, and it's not. It kind of runs downhill. So I think what I'll do is I'm going to pull it up here right to the edge of my stamp block and line it up with my edge, and that should help. Still a little wonky, but better, and it's homemade, so wonky is okay. Alright, so let's ink that. And it will just fit inside. Okay? Now I knew that because I used this the other day on some birthday cards. So I have to admit to already knowing that that was going to fit. Okay. So let's fussy cut this one out as well. Again, I'm going to leave just a little border around so that I don't have to be perfect. Now we can pop this one up as well if we want, but I think I would like to just make that one flat to the card. So there's our clean and simple Father's Day card. You can add some gears to it. You can add some time clocks and things to it. You can add a lot to it if you like. You could, just do it based on what would be a good match for your father. But this is something you can make up and do in 5-10 minutes, pretty much. Okay, so let's go to this one now, and let's see, what do we have? I have this set, and I'm always fascinated by it, and I haven't been able to use it very often, So I pulled it out because I want to use it today. So let's go back to our pumice stone, because this is our background. And let's ink it. Ink it up well. Yeah, I just kind of had maybe a little happy accident there. Okay, so I'm going to put this right here. Press it down. And lift it up, and that's kind of in the background there. Really didn't get the full effect of that, so I may not do that. But here's my little happy accident. I saw that since I still had this on the other side of my block, it stamped on the paper because it was laying on the paper when I was inking the other one, so that gave me an idea. For this. Okay. Let's see how that looks. That I like. I don't like this over here because it doesn't show up well enough. This I like very much. Let's go with this. Sometimes happy accidents are the very best things. You can leave it like that if you like, or you can pull our guy out again. We have both guys. I don't know. Let's see which looks better. This guy, he's kind of frowning. This guy, he's not smiling. He's a little less serious. I don't think I like the frown and the mean look in that guy's eye, so let's not use him. Let's use our same guy again. And we'll put the brushed corduroy on him. Or, see, I have an extra here. Let's experiment a little bit. Let's stamp him in 2 different colors and see which one we like better. So here's our brushed corduroy. I'm going to take my Happy Father's Day sentiment off of there. I smeared him. We'll go again. Let's do it the way I like to do it. That's better. Now I'm going to try Rusty Hinge. Okay. Let's cut those guys out and see which one looks better. Okay, so we have this one, and that just kind of fades away, really, because it's the same ink as the other. And this one, I'm going with this one, because he stands out a little bit. Okay, so let's get him cut out properly. This little fussy cutting job is going to be the most work that you do on this card, I think. Alright, there we go. Put some foam tape on him. Just do it like that this time. And place him down right there. And you have another clean and simple Father's Day card, which of course you can embellish with some gears and some other things to put on there. So, there we have it. Two very simple Father's Day cards with some stamping and a little bit of cutting and some of our old mat stash. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope the men in your life have a happy Father's Day, and we'll see you next week. Bye.